Each event is preceded by prophecy, but without the hero, there is no event. In the waning years of the third era of Tamriel, a prisoner born on a certain day to uncertain parents was sent under guard without explanation to Morrowind, ignorant of the role they were to play in that nation's history.
They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison, first by carriage and now by boat. To the east, to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
Wake up. We're here. Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up. Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name?
This kind, supportive fellow is a drug fiend and murderer named Jib. The two of us are just being shipped to the island of Vvardenfell in Morrowind from the Imperial City Prison, the one that Patrick Stewart lets you out of in Oblivion. I say just, but either I've been comatose for days or Jib is so disturbed by my dream thrashing that he wants to make sure I still remember my name. Don't worry, Jib. I'm still called Seyda the Red Guard. Neither of us knows it yet, but this is the meeting of two of Morrowind's last and, dare I say, greatest saints. Oh, and criminals.
Well, not even last night's storm could wake you. I heard them say we've reached Morrowind. I'm sure they'll let us go.
They'll let me go, yeah. You've still got some time to do, mate.
Quiet. Here comes the guard.
This is where you get off. Come with me.
He's a bit snarky, this guard. It's not entirely unfair given he's working a prisoner transport ship, but still, hasn't he heard of reform and preventing recidivism and stuff like that? No, he hasn't. The guard at the back here is also fairly snappy.
The sooner you leave, the sooner we can move on.
That's fine by me, lady.
Get yourself up on deck and let's keep this as civil as possible.
I was being perfectly civil, thank you very much. For now, I'm not going to drop a load of theory crafting and character building on you. It's traditional to start a Morrowind Let's Play by spending half an hour on the boat and talking about mechanics and lore and backstory, but I'm only going to steal a minute or so from your life. Morrowind is, after all, a slow-paced game. I will undoubtedly go into all sorts of lore and mechanics and hair-tugging rants and wild ramblings later on while we're wandering from pillar to post, but I ought to at least tell you what you're in for here. This is the first video in a series on Morrowind. I do know the game pretty well, but I'm partially physically disabled and my hands are rubbish at the moment, so I'm playing on a difficulty somewhere a little easier than normal and taking a chill approach. Don't worry, I'm still going to die a lot and get a lot of things horribly wrong, but if you're looking for wildly skilled gameplay, I'm not your man. Try just background noise. He's clever, skilled, funny, and not at all shrieky. So let's call this a relaxed let's play of the Morrowind Total Overhaul, going through the base game, the expansions, Tamriel Rebuilt, and some other bits of high-grade modded content. I'll be exploring as much of it all as possible, pointing at some interesting hidden things, going over amusing janky bits and exploits, maybe even including some branching side saves to look at mutually exclusive content. The Morrowind Total Overhaul is a very carefully curated list of mods for OpenMW, hosted on modding-openmw.com. Details are in the video description, but it includes a total graphical rework and it's gorgeous. Like most mod lists, the Total Overhaul does try to patch out most of the janky exploits and rebalance the game to be slower, harder and less broken. The end result isn't super Let's Play friendly, so I've done my best to patch most of those nerfs back out. We'll see who wins. So that's the What the Hell Is This 101. Let's have a quick pan around the Seyda Neen dock and the Bitter Coast. Just look at that detail. Stunning. Okay, let's get on with it, shall we? Here on deck we have Discount Morgan Freeman to usher us off the boat. He's a bit nicer than the guards downstairs.
This is where they want you. Head down to the dock and I'll show you to the census office.
My friend Megan first persuaded me to try Morrowind 20 years ago. I absolutely owe her.
Let's go. Move it along.
The game got me through some tough times, and I've always loved how deeply zany and creative it is. Walking down the gangplank at Seyda Neen always feels like coming home. Compared to the folks on the boat, the local guard on the dock is almost welcoming.
You finally arrived, but our records don't show from where.
This is the race selection box. To summarize, my main design goal for this character is to make the early game less frustrating. In the early levels, Morrowind's combat is generally gross. Any build can become brokenly powerful, but it's very easy to leave yourself needing to grind your weapon and armor skills by flailing ineffectively for hours at mudcrabs and rats. None of us want that. I said none of us, John. So I'm focusing on a race and skill set to give me one high starting weapon skill and also duck around a few other early game frustrations. Because longblades have most of the interesting weapons in the game, I'm going to be a red guard. They're here. And because personality is a tougher stat to level than strength, I'm going to be a woman. Yep, women get more personality and less strength, because the game was written by nerds 20 years ago. 25 years ago, probably.
A long way from Hammerfell, eh, Red Guard? Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release.
Wow, forgive me geeking out, but those shadows, those lanterns really are incredible. This game is 22 years old, remember?
Head on in.
Ah, yes, Sususius Egala.
Ah, yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
How very kind of you, Old Bean. Sususius here is a digital version of Ken Ralston, TTRPG legend and the lead designer of Morrowind and Oblivion. He does have a Voight Kampf test that we can use to select a class with, but sadly it's naff. The pre-gen classes are all pretty mediocre too, so we're going to make a custom class. We're taking primary combat specialization for a small weapon skill bonus. Our favorite attributes get bonuses, agility lets me hit things, and luck affects everything that happens. I want to try a high luck run. There are 8 attributes and 27 skills. Each skill is associated with one attribute and also with one primary specialization. Luck has no skills, but the other 7 have 3 to 5 each. You get to pick 5 major and 5 minor skills that make up your class. The other 17 are classified as miscellaneous. All your skills increase through use or training. When your class skills go up 10 times in total, you gain a character level. Each level, you get to increase 3 attributes of your choice. More skill ups for skills associated with the attribute, including miscellaneous skills, means a bigger attribute increase. The max increase per level is 5, so to be truly efficient, you have to level miscellaneous skills as well as class skills. Luck with no skills is always just 1 point max. That's why I'm starting with it high. Major skills start out at 30 and they increase faster than minor skills, which start at 10. Miscellaneous skills start at 5. You get a +5 for the 9 skills that fall into your specialization of combat, magic or stealth. Your race gives you skill bonuses in some areas between +5 and +15 too. Ideally, for leveling, you want every attribute with skills to have at least 1 class skill and at least 2 miscellaneous skills. So, for example, for max efficiency, you're best off selecting just 1 class skill from each of endurance and personality, because those stats only have 3 skills. It's the best way to avoid gimping yourself at very high levels. Frankly, it doesn't matter much, but it is a thing, so yet again, why not? On top of all of that, some skills are annoying to increase, like Mercantile and Armorer, and will make it slower to level up or more problematic to have low in the early game, like Security or a weapon skill, so should probably be class skills. So all that can figure into your skill selections too. Bearing all of that in mind, my major skills are, for strength, long blade, so I can hit things. For personality, speechcraft, so people don't actually hate me too much. They'll still hate me, but not too much. For intelligence, alchemy, so that I can see 2 alchemy properties for each ingredient, and so my early potions won't completely suck. For willpower, alteration, purely so that I can get an early game access to water walking, which I really like to have here on the coast. And doubling down with my second intelligence skill, security. There's a lot of locked things, and it gets really frustrating when your security skill is super low and you can't open any of them. Then, for my minor skills, for endurance, medium armor for protection. Light armor is probably better, but it doesn't fall under endurance, and I don't want to take spears or heavy armor. For a second strength skill, I'm going to go with acrobatics. It's really helpful for traveling, particularly jumping around things, climbing up things, and falling off things. For speed, I want athletics, because it increases how fast you can walk and run. For agility, I want sneak, because it makes larceny so much less unpleasant. And for a second willpower, I want restoration, for better access to healing and buffs. So my double skill attributes are strength, intelligence, and willpower, and those stats will increase faster. Int and willpower aren't ideal for a combat primary, but the early game skill benefits are worth it to me. And finally, I want to call the class something other than adventurer. And I'm going to go with equalizer, because we are going to be equalizing a lot of fools, if you know what I mean.
Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
Okay, right, birth signs. Your birth sign gives you a choice for sorted buffs. The signs are quite altered in the mod list I'm running, a mild variant of the base total overhaul, so there's not much point going into them. From this list, I'm going with the thief, because it gives me a buff to luck, quite a big one. It also gives me a buff to agility, which will help me for actually hitting things, and 80 points of feather, which gives me a bonus 80 points of carry weight. That's really useful, because armor is heavy, and because I'm a loot goblin. Everything else there is nice, but those are the important bits.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
This final screen's a summary of all the stats and skills, and a last chance to change things up. Having agility and luck at 65 is massive for helping me hit things in battle. Speed 60 will help me get around at a decent clip. On the other end, my magical attributes suck, but then again, good magecraft requires a significant commitment to character generation, and I'm obviously taking a very different path to that. My dominant skill is Longblade at 50. That's the only real important skill to note here. 50 is as high as any starting skill can get. It'll give me an actual chance in early game combat. I'll still be fragile until I get my armor skills up, but that's still miles better than having to stand in the surf and go toe to tooth with furious fish for several hours just to make things better. There we go, stats menu. I can right click to use it.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
There's my papers. For release by Emperor Uriel Septim the 7th decree to the district of Vvardenfell in the province of Morrowind, Syra the Red Guard Equalizer, signed Census and Excise, agent of the Seyda Neen Imperial Census and Excise, 16th of last seed, 3rd era 427. And that gives me an inventory as well. Various things unlock throughout the Census and Excise office as part of the tutorial system, and like all menus, you right-click to see the character sheet things. There, inventory. Now, let's exploit ourselves some jankiness. Morrowind wasn't so much carefully developed by well-regulated professionals as it was thrown together by a herd of eccentric cats. One dev described the process as like being in the Wild West. Systems were often developed in isolation, balanced against the dev's own imagination, and then just dumped into the game to have fun with. The result is demonstrably glorious, and it's one of the reasons we're still playing it today, but it does make it difficult sometimes to tell the difference between bugs, half-assed system design, unforced interactions with other mechanics, and entirely intentional processes. So, this is Census and Excise' infamous and a very valuable limeware platter.
There she is.
Continue through to the next building and talk to Celes Gravius.
As you can see, if you just grab stuff, everyone reacts badly. Thievery is, unpopular, frowned on even. So if you steal something, NPCs will attack, guards will arrest you, etc. But here, because this is a tutorial, they don't actually punish you at all. They warn you, remove everything marked as stolen from your inventory, and let you go again. But, because of mystic reasons to do with things like chim and dragon breaks, while your inventory is open, time is stopped. So you can pick something up and with no passage of time whatsoever,
She's over here!
instantly put it back down again. Then when the guards charge over to get you, you don't have it on you to confiscate. See, the game thinks it's taken something from me because it knows what I stole, but the item isn't there to reclaim, it's on the floor. And this time, which is the debatably exploity bit, when I pick it up, it's not considered theft anymore. All I'm doing is helping clean up the trash like any decent civic-minded individual. Having said that, we'll put it back down again for the moment, because stuff that's been stolen is always marked as stolen, and we're going to do some other naughty stuff in here first. The Total Overhaul does mod this platter exploit out quite aggressively, by the way, because it's cheesy. I've disabled that nerf. As Uncle Sheogorath would say, I do love me the tangy deliciousness of cheese. Personally, I think this particular crumb is entirely intentional, a way to reward the creatively lastness and to smooth the early game out a little, just like the many magical weapons that are hidden in stumps around Seyda Neen. It's there to give people a little head start if they go looking. So, there, one freshly prepared, cheesy platter. I'll be back for it in a minute. In the meantime, let's go on through the tutorial.
It wasn't my fault. Really. He just fell over. I hardly touched him.
I have no idea who this creepy old fecker is. He must be modded. I'm sure we'll come across him again at some point. Hopefully, dagger point. Which brings me to the next stage of the tutorial. The dagger on this table is a trap. Yes, it's heavily signposted as desirable. I'm actually stopped and forced to click OK, but unless you're built for short blades, it's a nightmare to hit anything with it. And even if you do have the skill, it's still a really rubbish dagger. Friends, do not let friends use Gansiel's table dagger. Just say no. I'm still going to take it, of course. I'm just not going to equip it. I'll equip something else in a moment. The note is a note from Gansiel to another guard, Hrisgar, a mouthy gnawed piece of crap who we'll meet soon. Hrisgar, don't think I've forgotten our wager. I want this dagger as sharp as a scamp's claw by morning. Ha, that certainly hasn't happened. The note is an introduction on how to pick up and read readables, even though you already did it once for your release papers. Then we have some crab meat. This is an introduction to alchemy. You can eat ingredients by dropping them on your character in the inventory menu and get a small benefit from the first effect slot. Ingredients have different properties. Some may hurt and some may help. And if you look, because I have a high alchemy score, I can see the first 2 qualities that can go into potions if I craft things with it later. Restore fatigue in particular is very useful. The more fatigued you are, the worse every skill check goes in the game. Not just fighting, even things like talking to someone. Don't do anything on low fatigue, ever. This jug of Flynn, which is booze, is an intro to potions. Just dump them on yourself again like ingredients. In this mod setup, stuff that you're free to take has a black background, like this lockpick. Things you're not supposed to take have a red background, like this bowl. Or this loaf of bread. Bread, you'll note, is also a restore fatigue potion ingredient. There's no clear line between cooking and alchemy, at least not for the player. Mixing bread and crab meat sounds like a tasty sandwich to me, or perhaps the recipe for some simple crab cakes if you fry it, but no, it's a potion of restore fatigue in Morrowind, and it's served in a bottle. I mean, it could at least be a sandwich of cure fatigue, you know? Or a smoothie? Bread smoothies. Finally, there's a candlestick. That tells you about light sources. Light sources are a pain in the neck. Night eye and other magic illumination options are far better. This is the locked chest that we're supposed to use for practice. Pick up the lockpick, dump it on ourselves, draw it as we would draw a weapon. There we go. And stab at it. It's got a lock level of 1. I have a skill of 30, and I'm failing. Yay, early game. I am definitely stealing this money, but money is something which the game doesn't track ownership of. Guards never confiscate stolen money. which is nice. Now, there's a lot more stuff in here that I could and indeed will be stealing, but we don't want stolen stuff on us just yet. If you look in the basket, for example, there's some alchemy ingredients / food. More crab meat. I really trust crab meat that's just been sitting warm in a wicker basket for Lorcan knows how long. Safe and tasty. We'll be back for it all. Now, in the courtyard, in addition to the map, there we are. You now have a map menu. It shows you the name of the place you're in and the direction you're facing, and we also have the mini-map here. There's the local map. That's the world map. This is Vvardenfell here, the base game. I think that's Solstheim. Then all of this is territory added by Tamriel Reborn. It's wildly impressive modding, and we will be exploring it eventually. Morrowind, like I said, not a quick game. So in addition to the map, there's this barrel. You can't ignore it. See? Inside the barrel is a ring of healing. It's your introduction to the magic system. Put it on, and now we have a magic menu. We can, as always, right-click to use it. Here we go. I choose the Ring of Healing. It pops up there. Then click to get ready to be all mojo-y. And there we cast some healing magic. We don't need any healing magic, but, you know, we're using it like an obedient Redguard. The last room in the customs office belongs to the supposed captain. He's not a captain, he's a sir. He's Knight-Errant Sellus Gravius, to be precise. Talk to him and he takes our papers, which unlocks the door to exit the tutorial. For the first time, you'll notice he's only partially voiced.
Your papers, please.
In fact, very little of the original game is voiced outside of the first few NPCs. There's plenty of ambient dialogue lines, but most quest dialogue is completely unvoiced. There's a lot of text in Morrowind. The Overhaul does include a mod which gives voices for some introductions and first lines of quest dialogues, but otherwise you have to read it. Dialogue in Morrowind is on a topic prompt basis, so you have a list of topics down the side. You click on the topic and get the NPC's comment on that subject. I will try to fit in plausible dialogue lines for Sire as much as I can to make it a bit more conversational. I'm definitely not going to read everything everyone has to say. Morrowind is very, very wordy, but I will try to read out quest material and other bits and pieces. Which, while I'm at it, brings me to the epic, world-shaking main questline. If you don't happen to ask Sellus Gravius about Morrowind, he will never give you your first quest. You'll have no idea that the main questline even exists, and there's almost no chance of blundering across it organically later on, even if you're really intense about home invasions. Plenty of players never knew there was a main quest at all back in the day. First, let me take your identification papers. Thank you. Word of your arrival only reached me yesterday. I am Sellus Gravius, but my background is not important. I'm here to welcome you to Morrowind. Surely you're being modest, Captain. I am Sellus Gravius, Knight-Errant of the Imperial Legion. Do you know why I'm in Morrowind? Yes, you're in Morrowind. I don't know why you're here or why you were released from prison and shipped here. Your authorization comes directly from Uriel Septim VII himself. I don't need to know any more than that. When you leave this office, you're free, but before you go, I have instructions on your duties. Instructions from the Emperor, so pay careful attention. You do know I have duties. This package came with the news of your arrival. You are to take it to Caius Casades in the town of Balmora. Go to the South Wall Corner Club and ask for Caius Casades. They'll know where to find him. Serve him as you would the Emperor himself. I also have a letter for you and a dispersal to your name. What can you tell me about Caius Casades? Report to him in Balmora. I can't tell you where to find him, but you're to go to the South Wall Corner Club and ask for him. Someone there can direct you to him. Okay, fine. Where's Balmora? Balmora is north of Seyda Neen. The road passes Pelagiad Village and Fort Pelagiad, crosses a deep ravine, passes Fort Moonmoth, and turns west across the Odai River and into Balmora. The South Wall Corner Club is in southeast Balmora, on the east side of the river. For more detailed directions, talk to Alone the Scout at Arill's trade house here in Seyda Neen. But take my advice. You're new here. Take the Silt Stride to Balmora. Fast, cheap, safe. Cross the bridge and head east. Can't miss it. Ignore that comment about Alone, it's just not true. Maybe it was once, it isn't now. It is a fair warning about the nature of quest markers in Morrowind, though. There aren't any. Instead, NPCs give you directions. The directions tend to be realistic, which is vague. It's an intrinsic part of the, fun. What else do you know about my duties? You know your duties. Take that package to Caius Casadas in Balmora. Nothing. Good. What is your role here precisely? I am a knight-errant of the Order of Ebonheart, an Imperial emissary attached to the Census and Excise office here in Seyda Neen. A cog in the Empire machine, huh? I'm proud to be an Imperial. Through our legions and rules of law, we have brought priests and civilization to the provinces of Tamriel. Go you 7th. Auril Septim is still the Emperor. According to my instructions, he personally authorized your release from prison and your delivery here. It's all very mysterious, but that's the way the Empire works. Silence, secrecy. Let not the left hand know what the right hand is doing. Even here? Yes, of course, this is the Empire. This is the Vvardenfell district of the province of Morrowind, and Morrowind has been part of the Empire for over 400 years. The current Emperor is Auril Septim, 24th of the Septim line. You haven't been in prison that long, have you? Nothing wrong with your head, is there? The men said you were acting a little strange when they brought you in from the ship. Okay, that's a little rude. What's the latest word around town? I don't trust you enough to talk about that. Gee, thanks. Fair enough, though. I am just some random criminal, I guess, so fine. Thanks, Celis, you're a buddy. So there you have it. As I've said, every build in Morrowind has the potential to be completely broken, but this is a setup that will get you into the early game without too many nightmares. Thanks for watching. In the next episode, we'll delight a perky wood elf, we'll make like a vulture and pick Seyda Neen clean, we'll assemble a really weird mix of ugly-ass armor, and we'll go kill someone for her trousers. To quote cheesy old 80s movies, "Father, forgive me, I am a worm." But assuming you're still here, it would really help massively if you take the time to leave a like and subscribe. I don't have anything resembling a profile, and every interaction helps so much. In fact, the all-consuming algorithm values comments even more highly, so if you can think of anything to say below, I'd consider it a favor. Even a random ancient movie quote that just muscled its way into your cortex for no reason. Best of all would be spreading the word by sending this video to someone who might like it. I don't expect you to live up to Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross, but it would be lovely. Either way, thank you so much for being here. Have a great one, friend, wherever you are, and I hope to see you next time.